Hey everybody, welcome to Cybersplainers. We are here with an episode we've had on the slate for a long time, here to talk about a rather important issue and a concerning issue, a challenge that a lot of people unfortunately do have to deal with and aren't sure where to go. We've dubbed this episode in planning the SHTF episode, or the what do I do if the shit hits the fan, or the radio edit version, what do I do if the stuff hits the fan? And to help us, we have someone in the studio who really does know and deals with this stuff all the time. But that's our question. What do I do when the shit hits the fan? So today in the studio, I have with me Joe and Alissa, both from Blue Team Alpha. I'll let you introduce yourselves at least a little bit, but the idea is we've talked about this, and full disclosure, this was actually the first episode we ever recorded a year ago. We had some technical issues, and it's too important of a topic and an issue to not get it right. So you guys were gracious enough to come back. I got you both in town, so we're going to do this again. Maybe we learned something in a year, maybe nothing really changed. But say a quick hello and just a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Joe Wright. I'm the VP of Services and Delivery at Blue Team Alpha. I'm also the Chief Information Security Officer and an Incident Commander. I've been there for just over 4 years, but career-wise, I was in the Coast Guard for 20. So by nature, I've always been a rescuer in some fashion, right? So about halfway through my career, I transitioned into cyber, and I've been with Blue Team Alpha since I retired, and so my career just spans incident response from the dawn of time. Essentially, I reported to my first unit 2 weeks before 9/11, so my response is always response. I'm always responding, always ready to go, and the Coast Guard's motto is Semper Paratus, which is always ready. So it's just built into who I am, I guess. Now.
Just your nature.
Yeah, it's just who I am now. And Alissa.
You get to tackle people when they first have a problem. They call into partners or yourself, and customers that are typically corporate customers are calling into you to help them deal with a problem. Before we get to that, though, before we get to the corporate side, I think I always like to kind of start with the easier side that applies to everyone. Mm-hmm. Everyone uses devices. Everyone has computers nowadays. It used to be that when I was younger.
That's how we got
that
started,
had more than one
Eric.
Computer. Now everybody has more than one.
This is how you and I got started in this industry, right? Is being that person that people went to, right?
Yeah. And yet it was a simple enough thing that you could do it all.
Right.
You could handle it. The scope of the problems were smaller. They were typically hardware, maybe software. It wasn't ransomware, which we'll get to.
Right.
That's kind of where all this seems to come down to and boil down to ransomware most often now. But if we start kind of take a step back to the consumer level, even corporate employees also have consumer devices. Mm-hmm. They have devices that have nothing to do with work, ideally, hopefully don't have any corporate data on them. When something happens to them, or average home user who has no team behind them, nobody to report it to, who should they call? If they think, let's say they're not sure, they think something's wrong, computer's acting funny, they think they might have been infected with something, whether it's a virus or whether it's something technically not really a virus, they might think it is. Mm-hmm. Any ideas or any recommendations for the average Joe, not Joe, but average person who maybe has some sort of issue on a computer or other device?
So I'm technical, but I'm going to let Alissa answer first, just to see what she would say in that situation, because I think it's a good idea.
What would you do?
Well,
say just your personal phone or your personal device.
Yeah.
What would you do with it?
Well, I would probably call Joe.
You bring it to these guys.
But he's not going to recommend that you call him.
You have a Joe. Not everybody has a Joe.
Yeah. I mean, and we do get personal calls on our 911 hotline pretty frequently, honestly. It's usually, people who think that somebody hacked into their network or their Wi-Fi or whatever the case is, and BTA can't really assist with personal level, I guess, situations, viruses, things of that nature. But if something happened to me on my personal device, my immediate reaction would be to unplug everything for sure. I guess there's different companies that you can go to get assistance. Yeah. A lot of the times people end up having to call. It depends on the severity, right? It depends on what situation you're looking at. If it's something where you think that your information's being stolen, we recommend that you call local authorities usually. But unfortunately, there isn't a ton of resources from a personal perspective, especially when you're calling 911 and saying like, look, my stuff got hacked. But Joe, you would
it's actually
is there someone in the house right now?
Well, that's
not much they can actually do.
If somebody could design a very cheap model for personal consumers to protect them, that would be a superb thing, right? But the fact of the matter is, some of this stuff gets so technical, and the answers you really want to find take time, and that costs a lot. And unfortunately, most people don't have access to that on a personal side, right?
Right.
Yeah,
well, and there's liability issues too.
Correct.
You know, nobody wants to touch your personal device unless you sign a whole bunch of disclaimers that we can't guarantee we're going to get your data back, or that it's all going to be there. And there's challenges. I mean, you talked brick and mortar. At least you had. I don't even know if they're still around, but the Geek Squad at Best Buy. You know, I know people used to bring devices to them if they have no other idea,
and
even if they didn't buy it from them.
Yeah,
I still think they do. I think a lot of people will go that route, or they go to somebody they know that knows somebody that they know that'll do it on the side as a personal favor. I think that's what you'll see most often. But I mean, if I was to recommend an initial action, would be to take an image of it or save it somehow. And then just start over.
Kind of a backup after it's too late is a bit of a problem. But well, to Alyssa's point earlier too, shut it off. Kind of stop the bleeding, stop the damage, disconnect, power it down. Same thing people say when they drop their iPhone in the toilet.
Yeah, we had a
turn it off, throw it in a bag of rice.
Right.
Try not to use it until it's safer. Similar, very, very different, but
we had a person a couple of weeks ago actually call in, and I was on the phone with them as a personal thing, and her issue was that she couldn't get herself back online. Her Xfinity ISP had cut her off because of the traffic that they were seeing. So they cut her off, and I'm like, well, you have to work with Xfinity to get it back up. We're not going to be able to do it.
So the ISP actually took action because of something they saw.
Yeah, they saw malicious traffic on their end. So they took action on her behalf. And then she got locked out of her Microsoft account, and she tried to call Microsoft. Well, sometimes when you Google Microsoft, you don't actually Google Microsoft. You Google someone else.
Especially if it's on a
and so
she gave away
she gave away her info to Microsoft. Not
what she thought
not the Microsoft.
Yes.
Yeah, so the next thing she knew, her accounts had all been compromised after that too. So she took it in an attempt to fix it herself. It went the extra mile and it made it worse. So there's, even the internet can lead you down the wrong.
Especially
tunnel.
If you're using infected devices,
right?
You can't trust anything that you're seeing on them. I love talking about Hollywood. We've talked about this, I think, before, and Hollywood's representation of cybersecurity or tech in general. And there was one recently that I watched. I've talked to a few other people about Beekeeper, Jason Strahan. As it's an action revenge flick, but it's set up by a cybercrime, by someone taking advantage of an unsuspecting person. Felicia Rashad, if that's still her last name, I can't remember. Mrs. Cosby on the old sitcom.
That's right.
Not bad enough that she was married to Bill Cosby, but now also she gets compromised. But she ends up being a victim
multiple times.
but her computer's victimized. She calls the link, calls the phone number, talks to someone who's very kind. Oh, we're going to help you out with this. You just need to tell me your password. Exactly the way it plays out. I'm not recommending the movie that you should go see it. It's actually not bad if you're into revenge flicks, but it's not a super cybersecurity related. It's just that setup is very good, and the believability of how easy it is for someone who thinks they even know better. She's not an idiot. She's not a dumb person.
Right.
But they're so good on the other end with the social engineering aspect.
Totally.
Of convincing them to, I'm going to help you. You need help.
Yeah.
And you can't afford to waste any time and call somebody else or bring it to a store. No, don't disconnect.
Yeah.
Don't unplug it.
Right.
Just tell me your passwords. I can log in and we'll fix it for you. And then wipe her out.
Did I ever tell you this, Joe? I fell for that in college, actually. So I had somebody hack into my personal laptop with all my school information, whatever else on it. And they called me, and I figured it was somebody trying to help. They impersonated somebody trying to help me fix the issue. And I bought the gift cards and everything. And it was a whole situation.
I think everyone at
20.
least knows someone that has fallen for it.
Yeah.
And if you're not, you're maybe 2 steps removed from someone who's had the issues happen.
This was literally 10 years ago, but it was super believable. The social engineering aspect, which has only gotten way
more sophisticated.
Yeah, sophisticated over time. And I just think about now, if you didn't have any, I don't know, if you didn't have any understanding of the landscape at all, you would be very susceptible even if you're an intelligent person, because it's that good.
I mean, I question some of the stuff.
Yeah,
I get text messages and I look at it in depth.
for sure.
I actually go as far as to inspect where it came from and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so sophisticated that it's getting to a point where you don't know if it's real or not.
The amount of text messages, it's crazy. I get them like every other day.
Yeah. Well, the text messages that you've got to, we've talked about this in the past, you've got a package to pick up at the post office.
Right.
Yeah.
Coming from an international phone number.
Yeah.
With a link that's nothing like USPS.gov.
But some of them look really believable, though.
Well, they get better and better.
Yeah.
But there's always question.
Yeah.
It's right to question all
Right,
this.
totally.
And I've said to others, especially, and I did a webinar a while back talking to a elderly-ish crowd, and brought up to them, first of all, they're a big target, not just because they're susceptible and less technically savvy, but they've also accumulated wealth.
Right.
That they're more of a target than the average person that's just out of college that maybe you get a couple bucks from them. So they're very susceptible. There's good motivation to attack them, and what do they do? Who do they go to? And the basic idea is you can't trust anyone except someone you absolutely know that you can prove it is them, or that you are face to face with.
Which is why I said go to somebody you know that knows somebody that knows what they're doing. Because if you start just calling stuff, you're going to run into something worse.
It's so risky.
Well, and one of the things I recommended to them too is, yes, it says the FBI. The FBI has locked your machine to protect you. Call us at our field office and hang up. Or don't call that.
FBI doesn't even help organizations like ours. They're not going to help you.
The FBI is not.
Look up the number somewhere else.
You.
But whatever it is, whoever it says to call them, don't call the number that you see.
Right.
Look up the number from a reputable source in a reputable way on an uncompromised machine. Go to your neighbor's house, ask them to look up the number for you, if you're worried, and call them directly.
Certainly.
And almost anyone that you call that your computer is saying you should be talking to, they will be patient with you and say, no, that is not us. Or they will look it up and say, let me check if one of our agents is working on a case with you. Nope, it's not us. And they will verify, and they will say no. But you're still left with the question, what do I do? Because now my computer has this message on it. So find someone you trust, someone you know.
Someone you know you can verifiably trust, right? Not a Googled thing.
Right.
And definitely if you call what you believe to be Microsoft, don't. Just don't.
It's not going to be the
don't
most
call
helpful
Microsoft.
or efficient.
Not
option.
only that, they really don't. I mean, there's not much they can do for you.
Exactly.
You think that the people you buy products from and stuff like that would be the people you'd want to go to, but it's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, they may only know so much, or that they've got their money from you. So it's tough. I think part of the question also is, once you've gotten that message, it might, in many cases, just be too late.
Right.
And the right answer is stop the bleeding, but cauterize the wound and just grow another limb. It's not to get too morbid with the analogy, but it might be that you just need to reimage the machine. Don't throw it away. The devices can be salvaged. They can be restored.
Yeah, if for some reason there's information you need off of there, there's ways to recover that.
Yeah.
There are cheap ways to do it, right? There are organizations and ways we can help you, and people can help you do that. So
I mean, if you take the drive out that has your sometimes there's irreplaceable information. You got your family photo album from years of digital photos, all uploaded, stored on your computer, some other personal documents. That stuff is still on the drive.
Yep.
Maybe it's encrypted, maybe it's ransomed, and that's more of a problem. But there are still potentially ways without continuing to make the infection worse and spreading it. Shut it off. Deal with recovery kind of on the back end. The better thing to do, unfortunately, is to have prepared and had backups of everything ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then you can wipe it out and restore from backups. And
so on a personal level, right, when that asks you on your phone when you first set it up, do you want to enable auto backup? And everybody's like, no, because it's going to take up all this space and I'm not going to do it. You should do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because there'll be incremental backups that you can go back to them and you don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
You don't need
at least the
else.
Stuff that's on your phone. Computers are a little bit different.
Computers are different, depending on if it's a Mac or not. But some Macs are the same, essentially, running the same backup solution
the same
and everything.
iCloud. Yeah. Yep. But others too, between OneDrive and Google Drive and all these other storage mechanisms in the cloud, that is a form of backup.
It is.
So to have all your stuff stored there as well, but it's not necessarily the end all be all.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean, they can still get rid of that too. So.
they can get rid of it, and it can also end up being encrypted if everything locally was encrypted and then synchronized back up on top of what I had in some cloud drive. That's now still encrypted.
Yep, exactly.
But having some or multiple backups of your vital content is the better idea.
And offline, right? Like, especially if it's personal data, we're talking still the personal user, right? If it's tax forms, if it's family photos, if it's W-2s that you don't want anybody having, don't leave those on the computer.
Yeah.
Store them on an external hard drive. That's what they're for.
Yeah. External hard drive or go old school. I used to burn them on DVDs or you know, Blu-ray discs or something. Bring out the old burner.
With solid state externals, we're in a good place now.
But the advantage is that the optical drives, the optical discs would store for a very long time. So if you burn that data onto a disk, if you still have some of those old drives, you can buy some old blanks, put your photos on them because it will last
longer,
a very long time.
Yeah,
you can store them; they're not so temperature
without breaking
sensitive.
them or burning them. It's impossible to destroy almost. Yeah,
just might be hard to find a reader again.
Right.
Like all that data you have backed up on floppy disks. Go ahead and try and recover that now. I actually have a drive somewhere in my office. But
Eric's old enough to have
a USB floppy drive. Print out your punch cards with all your data on them. So having physical backups is a great thing. But if you don't, just don't make it worse. So let me transition a little bit because now let's say that device, this device that might have been compromised, is also used for work because BYOD, bringing your own device to work, is very common now. A lot of organizations let their employees use their own stuff, whether it's phones, tablets, laptops, even home computers are often used for business data. So now, if this device is being used, even if it's not a corporate-owned device, that's a whole different story. We'll get there. But even if it's just used for some corporate data and you think it's been compromised, that's a different action.
For sure.
So now when they call you and that's the case, Alissa,
then we have a different conversation.
We can help in a different way.
We can help in a different way, for sure. I mean, obviously, the first, I guess, thing that they're going to have to do is contact their place of work, right? So then we would be more focused on the business side of things. And not
You're
the
kind of
personal
later in
side
the
of things.
conversation, but the individual user, contact your team, contact your company, contact your IT, your cybersecurity team, whoever. There's hopefully more and more organizations now have made that a point, so employees do know who to call.
Yeah.
I say get rid of bring your own device in general. Don't do
well,
it.
But that's a
whole different thing.
Right.
You're not going to convince the world to do that. Until we draw a clearer line between personal and work.
Yeah.
Right.
That's.
And to be fair, we honestly don't get much of those calls, I guess. So it is a little bit of a unique situation that we get those calls.
Well, because if they are calling their company.
Right, because usually that's the case. It's like the company's calling us first. It's not the personal user themselves. It's the company saying, hey, we have an employee, their account has been compromised, and then we take it from there usually.
So bottom line for the employee, for the user that has split, contact cybersecurity team, contact your IT guy, whoever you can at the company, the help desk, whoever it is that you know to call when something goes wrong. And you have to kind of just follow their lead.
Right.
Yeah. And for informational purposes, the reason you would do that is because there are privacy concerns with data from organizations or customers or partners or whatever it is that's there, right? And so
it goes beyond the personal
level. It goes beyond
level.
the personal level. Even if it was just their own company's information, that's important as well, right? They need to know. So
even if it's just your email or your Teams chat or whatever it is that's on your phone, if you have any connectivity to any work stuff on your phone, you need to contact.
And even if you suspect a compromise, let's just not even, you don't even know.
Let's just a little wonky.
Just in your head, you're like, something's not right. Just tell them. Don't be I always say this, don't be the biggest person with a secret, right? Like go to your supervisor and tell them. Now they have the secret.
Well, that kind of gets to, why do people not do that? Because they feel ashamed. They don't want to bother them.
Yeah. They want it to go away. They want to sweep it under the rug and act like it didn't happen. But that's only going to make matters worse over time.
If they close the laptop fast enough, maybe nobody saw it.
Right.
Like, I didn't click that link. I didn't do it.
By the time that popped up on your screen, it's too late. It's kind of like when you're driving down the highway too fast. By the time you see the cop, slowing down is not going to do you any good. He's already got you on the radar.
Right.
It's too late to do anything.
Waze.
There I go with another analogy. But it's too late. Deal with it. Let them know. And if they're giving you a hard time, I will call them. I'll call foul on them. They need to be accepting. anyone that I know that we've worked with, the right proper cybersecurity people, even IT people, they would rather you bring them a potential problem than you hide a potential problem
For sure.
to save any embarrassment.
Yeah, I want to
And if they're
tell you
making you feel
I
shame,
want to tell you there's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yes.
the best thing that ever happened because now we can be proactive so that you don't ever have to worry about it again.
Right. And the timing is everything, right? Like the quicker you acknowledge that something's up and something's suspicious and you inform people, you know, it's less risky. The longer you wait, there's way more potential damage to occur.
Exactly.
So I think we need to change that mentality, that
sure.
culture of shaming.
Well,
No,
it's not even work. It's not just work, though. I mean, this is personal. Like you were saying, like we started this. Like people have to start thinking that way with all of their stuff, right? Like just to protect themselves at this point, right? Not just the organizations you work for, but to protect yourself. You know, you have to be most important, especially in this world that we're living in.
I even will admit I used to be a little more harsh and annoyed when family members would call me with stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to soften because I realized I'd rather they call me with this silly thing and I can laugh with them, not at them, and say, yeah, that was silly. That wasn't really bad, but I'm glad you called me because the next time, if it is bad, I want to help you early
For sure.
rather than after. You know,
That's right.
It's spread across multiple family members and things have gotten worse, or you've been really impacted, or you've gone and bought those gift cards. for
Don't
something.
buy the gift cards.
Don't buy
Red flag.
If your boss wants gift cards, tell him to go get them himself.
Can we just start a campaign that says, like, if somebody tells you to buy a gift card and you don't know if you should, you shouldn't.
Yeah, don't do
If there's
it.
any question, or you call somebody else.
Yeah.
Call somebody else at the company. Say, hey, he's asking me to do this, and there should be no shame in that.
Right.
So for anyone out there, when the boss does want to call somebody to have them buy gift cards,
Make
for
sure
them,
you talk to them.
If they call the help desk and somebody calls you, don't reprimand them.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing.
Right.
It's that culture of shame and it's urgency, and I don't want to, be a cog. I want to help facilitate and enable and be a good guy. It's not. It's somebody's taking advantage. If you're questioning it all, so especially when there's work data involved. But what about if it is a corporate-owned machine? Now I think that's easy.
Yeah.
If it's a corporate-owned device, there's any potential.
Well, there's still the
compromise.
shame feeling, I think,
Yeah,
for some
for
people.
sure.
I think it
Absolutely.
depends. I think some people run from it. I mean, especially if it results in something terrible, job ending bad, right? Like you're saying, ransomware, worst case scenario. I clicked on it and it caused it, right? That be something that you may be shameful about telling people about, and we can get into that here in a little bit, but a lot of times when we go on site, we figure out exactly what happened because we're on site, not because we did some forensics that figured it out.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there was one of those old Southwest commercials, "Want to Get Away," that they had somebody like I think that's what it was in a corporate office, and somebody's looking at their computer, and a message pops up on their screen. You've just downloaded the so-and-so virus, and then it pops up on everyone else's screen around the office, and it's calling out the person who got it infected. If you got infected, you're better off bringing it early than waiting till it spreads to everyone anyway. Don't worry about that shame. Don't.
Yeah.
No.
And the corporate culture should be such that bring it to me. Ask me. If you're not sure if it's spam, ask somebody.
Yeah.
I do a lot of tabletop exercises.
Yes.
A lot of them. And oftentimes the one hand does not want to talk to the other hand in the organization because they're afraid of the consequence for bringing that. And that's a culture thing, like you're saying, and it depends on the organization. Some are great. But communication and open communication, not drawing lines in the sand and saying, don't talk to us unless this is really the crux there, right? Because you had open communication amongst everyone should be a priority of most organizations nowadays, especially when it comes to cyber and IT.
Yeah.
Transparency.
I agree.
Transparency.
Yes. And it's a cultural problem, not a technical problem. It's not an individual intelligence problem. It's a cultural.
Yeah.
Get past it.
For sure.
And like I said, some of us have been around it a while, been doing it for a long time. I've learned I'm not going to shame family anymore.
Yeah.
Not that I want you to call me about every little thing. Don't take me wrong, family. But I do if there's any potential.
Yeah.
If Felicia Rashad in the movie Beekeeper had called somebody else before giving them all the information, they would have said, hang up, close the laptop, unplug it, turn it off before it gets worse.
Yeah, Mom sends me screenshots all the time.
Does she?
My mom does, yeah.
I think,
Is this legit or not? No, it's not. Don't do anything.
Right.
Leave it alone.
Yes.
Well, yeah, but it's the way of the world now.
But I'm glad you asked.
Right.
Right. And there should be less shame around it, for sure. There needs to be a cohesiveness. It is, we're living in a very technologically advanced world right now. So you should be aware, and you should be reaching out and asking people too.
Sure. So we're talking about, most of this has been around some potential infection, some pop up on your machine. You click the link and something popped up.
Right.
Maybe
It's not rare. It's very, very, very
happens all
common.
the time. But there's other scenarios as well. And I wanted to ask you about one very specific one from a while back.
Okay.
Not quite 2 years ago now. Ransomware is one of the other big things. I think a lot of what we talked about is kind of, we assume a lot of this is ransomware. That's just one of the most successful ways for the bad guys to monetize.
Yeah,
their
that and email compromises, like with the gift cards and things.
Sure.
I mean, holding people's mailboxes for ransom is a thing that's starting to happen. They're deleting exporting and then deleting.
Yeah,
so that's happening.
That's actually been around a little longer than ransomware, from what I recall.
But
taking over your email
being
account.
able to get that back is tough sometimes. So,
it goes back to
people
identity
rely on
theft.
that. Yeah.
It's a form of identity
is.
theft, because your email is part of your identity nowadays.
Yeah.
And if they can pretend to be you, or
I'd rather never use email.
Yeah, everybody
real.
says that.
I think email just not to go down a different path, but I think email just needs an update, needs a shot in the arm of updated security and tech and better authentication and
I mean, they're putting in a lot of endpoint tools around email that is helpful, and the logging is helpful, and Microsoft is doing the best they can for keeping the data, but they're still not able to protect it.
Well, fundamentally, it's an ancient protocol that wasn't built for security. It was built for functionality, even basic functionality, and it's just hasn't been updated. SMTP itself is just in need of a new generation, but it's so saturated, it's hard to get everyone onto a new version of something that requires authentication between servers or something else that helps. And there's potentially things that could happen. But
and more often, we're actually seeing that as sometimes the entry point still too, even for ransomware cases, not just email compromise.
Email is still a big vector for various things. But ransomware specifically is a huge issue, especially at the corporate level where there's a lot more money involved. And late 2023, I believe it was, there were two very high profile. I'm going to pick on them because they were very high profile, and it's a great example of different responses, because both MGM and Caesars, the resort systems, not so much the casinos, from what I recall of the issue, they were both ransomware late 2023. I want to say end of the summer, early fall, by the same group, in the same basic way, through social engineering, if I remember correctly, calling the help desk saying, hey, I'm big shot so-and-so. I can't log in. You need to reset my password. And maybe it wasn't even big shot. It's just somebody at the company that then gets them in, and they have an account, and then they can traverse once they're in using other techniques. Basically, it started, though, with a compromise of someone who didn't want to question them and have them prove their identity, or they knew how, because they'd social engineer the person enough that they know their mother's maiden name or whatever it is that they use as a security check. So they were able to get the help desk to reset their account, gain access, inject their malware, start encrypting stuff, wreak havoc on those systems. And both Caesars and MGM's resort systems were totally shut down. And they were issued ransom demands. And again, what they could have done, the person on the help desk should have not responded, or should have, I want to start there before I get to what happened next. What could they have done to avoid this in the first place?
I think having like the zero trust mentality, even when you're thinking about leadership, or like having being put in a position where I would say that it's best to lean on cautiousness all the time, regardless of the situation you're in, especially with phone calls, for sure with emails. But if you take a second to just like really think about who's calling and why they'd be calling, you probably would start second guessing it. And if you're second guessing it, then it's probably a suspicious situation that you're in.
And it probably starts with policy on the cyber CISO brain side,
Absolutely.
right? Like, those types of things shouldn't be able to be done on a phone call.
Right.
There should be checks and balances there to protect that user from making that mistake.
And I bet there are now.
There
for
are.
both of them.
For
I'm
sure.
sure there
For sure.
Nobody at the help desk is authorized. Or it should even be like, okay, you need 2 keys to launch the nuclear weapons. There should be checks, like one individual can't authorize that reset password or sharing those credentials. Somebody should be checking them and validating.
And policy-wise, from a data management and identity access control perspective, those are tough things to accomplish in
sure.
certain environments. You think of the casino environments as are large. Managing that, holding people accountable to the policy is probably pretty tough because of how vast and wide it is.
Probably
So
the
you have to be
hardest
pretty,
aspect.
Especially
you
to
have
put it
be-
on after the fact.
Well,
For
and the more
sure.
you
Yeah.
and the more specific you get with it, the harder that job to enforce it becomes,
Yeah.
right? So a lot of times they default to a general policy that says, "Hey, if these people call you, it's okay."
Right.
And so that's a problem from our perspective because we're trying to be as proactive as possible. But to an organization to make it functional, especially in the size of the corporate world in that sense, that makes it difficult to manage if you get too granular with it. So
Right.
that's something that our advisors have to think about when we're helping these organizations create those policies.
Yeah.
Is this too specific?
Right.
Is
Well,
this too
but that again gets
restrictive?
to how to prevent it in the first place, which
Right.
is by the time the shit hits the fan, it's too late. We're
Right.
mostly talking about after you didn't do these things,
Right.
but to
Correct.
avoid it, because I did ask that question, is
Yeah.
what would be
Yeah.
the better way to handle it?
Right.
Have better procedures and policies in place
That's
that
right.
don't leave the opening
Yep.
Correct.
for someone to
Yeah.
give a password to someone who shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And just because we're there right now on the policy thing, AI policies right now, those have to change. People need to implement them.
Yeah. Yes.
Because people are going to start leaking passwords and all types of other company secrets and not realize they're doing it.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we won't go
it's
down that
happening
rabbit
already.
hole.
I mean,
That's a
it's-
big rabbit hole. But
Somebody finds some generic,
yeah,
AI platform they want to start using. They
Right.
start asking it questions, feeding it data they probably shouldn't.
correct.
That AI could come back and say, "Oh yeah, I can help you with that. I just need your password for this."
Right.
What's
exactly.
to say that isn't going to happen?
is going to happen.
and somebody's going to then
Right.
feed it because they trust whatever
Yeah.
whatever's. I
Oh
don't want to
my
name
goodness.
any
Yeah.
of them. There's
Yes.
so many, but some
Yeah, it's going to happen. Or the
we'll call it
sort-
Kramer AI just to pick on Kramer.
Yeah.
Kramer AI, and I gave him my password.
We
and I don't know
always
what
say
happened.
at BTA too, we say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And that
Yeah.
truly, truly is the case. I mean, AI or otherwise, that is the case. So I think part of it too is like there's a user responsibility, but what we focus on is the company responsibility around that, right? So you need to make sure that you're empowering your employees to be able to handle those situations because it is a matter of when and not of if. So you need to be training on cybersecurity. It's here. Like you have to be doing it.
And if you have that mentality of if or when instead of if,
Yeah.
that means you should be preparing.
That's right.
Absolutely.
You should be preparing so that you've got your backups, you've got your alternatives, you've got DR,
Down to
disaster
the
recovery, you've got
and
everything else in
Individual
place.
employee level.
And every organization is at a different maturity point, right?
Right.
So, figuring that out as a CISO or
They're all
as a-
different, but they're all still a little too immature in my mind.
well, there'll always be too. There's always something
There's
you can
always
do.
something.
Yeah.
There's always something you can do.
for sure.
So let me pull it back to MGM and Caesars because there's another aspect of this that I think is important. Yeah, they should have prevented it in the first place with better policies and procedures in place, more patience, more roadblocks before someone who has forgotten their password can get in. You have to understand, we're not going to be able to get you in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We're going to need more from you. And if you're not patient, that's on you.
Yeah.
And that's, again, part of that corporate culture of checks and balances are a good thing. But now they've been ransomed and they receive these demands. Now, this is definitely more of a difficult discussion because they both react. And the reason I use these two cases, they both responded differently.
Correct.
One of them, and I'm not going to call out which one because you can look it up. It's well documented. One paid the ransom, said, okay, here's your $15 million. Ended up being, I think, closer to 30 by the time it was all said and done, but they were up and running again relatively quickly. I wouldn't have been all that confident and felt all that secure if I were them, but at least they're back up and running. The other decided, nope, we're not going to pay the ransom. We're going to recover on our own. And it took them months
Yep.
to even get partially back and cost them, from what numbers I've seen, cost them way more
Yeah.
in lost revenue and other expenses to not pay the ransom.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we have this problem, and I think it's still kind of prevalent, is paying the ransom. Bad idea, shouldn't do it. And that's easy to say when you're not the one who's down and losing money
Correct.
because of it.
Right.
Most organizations, I believe, are paying the ransom.
Yeah.
I've sat in the room and sat across from a CEO, COO, CFO, sat with the IT guys, I've sat with the admins. And every single one of them, first initial reaction, because they're measuring what they're losing every day,
Yeah.
is to just pay the ransom, right? That's their thought process, right?
Yeah.
Even if they have backups, they want to just pay it and get it over with, right? Because to them, every day or minute that they're down, What they don't take into consideration is even if you pay for this thing, it's still going to take a lot of time to get things back up. They think it's like an instant, bam, it's over with. I paid for it. You got the keys. Now go get it back up. Right.
Well, and you're dealing
with
dealing with criminals, so they can
What's the
ultimately
guarantee?
do whatever they want.
Right.
They can,
They can
promise
take
you the
your money
stars
and
and the
walk
moon,
away.
but they don't have to give you anything.
Right.
So it's super risky in general.
Yep.
Somebody blackmails you with photos, and you say, "Give me the negatives too." Sure, but let's say you don't have more copies of the photos.
Yeah.
There's always that potential risk because it's not like it's a legally binding contract. That,
But if you go back to
give us our data back.
if you go back to those two scenarios that you're talking about with the casinos, the first one that takes forever to get back up but loses a lot of money was probably more responsible in the long run. And they probably identified a lot more vulnerabilities and gaps in their cybersecurity program and is probably better equipped for the next one. Whereas the other one took the easy way out, which, in my opinion, got them up quicker, probably kept revenue, but probably didn't identify all the vulnerabilities. Now, that's not to say that they couldn't have afterwards, right? Done a forensics thing after the fact and gone back and figured it all out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So they probably did. I mean, given the size of the organizations that they are and the things
they didn't
that
rest,
do,
pay the
right?
ransom. It's okay, we're done, we're good.
Yeah. But as smaller organizations, we're typically in the SMB market, so we're seeing manufacturing organizations, small healthcare entities, things of that nature. We try to steer them away from paying the ransom at all costs, and it be the last resort. And we do that for the same reasons I just stated, which is we want to know what happened, and we're going to help you get up as fast as we can anyway, right? So even if I pay that ransom and get the key tomorrow, it's still going to take a ton of time to unencrypt all that data and get it back on, right? So if I don't need to do that, if there's no business need to have that data, I'm gonna try to push them toward not doing that. Unfortunately, what we run into is that they need that data.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I want to say the ransom gangs or ransomers, whoever they are, whatever we want to call them, they've also adapted and adjusted to make sure that their pricing is cheaper than your alternatives.
Correct.
So it becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah.
If we say, okay, we know it's going to cost you $50 million or $2 million per day that you're down and 50, whatever,
right.
We're going to price ourselves so that the keys are going to cost less and make it financially attractive. Still making plenty of money for, no hard costs on their end.
Right.
Totally.
So it makes it more compelling. And if we start saying, no, it's illegal, because I know this is going on right now too. There's legislation I've heard lately. Certain countries and certain groups are trying to make it illegal to pay ransoms.
Well, we do that here.
For certain organizations, depending on regulation, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not
right.
for a mom and pop shop. There's no laws about not paying ransoms or even for a personal use, or are there?
There are. So they regulate it. It's at the federal level, but it's terrorist organizations. So once they deem it terrorist related.
But are they enforcing?
Yes, they do. Oh,
So-
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had ransom payments denied.
So this is news to me, which I love learning.
had
That's
ransom
why I do
payments
this.
denied.
I like to learn new stuff too. So if my little mom and pop shop, small company, we get ransomed and we pay it,
or try to.
or try to. Let's say we've been successful.
Okay.
We pay the ransom, we get our data back, everything's good. Then we contact the FBI field office, say, hey, by the way, just so you know this happened. That could end up coming back to haunt us.
Yes.
And we could end up being fined on top of the ransom we paid.
Yeah, it could. That's why we don't just pay them. We go through the sanctions
Proper
checks
channels.
and through the proper channels. Yeah. So if you're working with an organization, they're typically going to do that. Now, if you do that on your own, let's just say you get ransomware and you're like, I don't want to involve anybody in this. I want to keep this under wraps, and you go and pay it, and then they find out about it and you paid a terrorist organization, they could bring you up on charges for sure.
And you actually, That's interesting. Oh, and I know certain organizations, it's been that way for longer, especially public and government.
Sure.
Certain regulated industries have had that for a much longer time. So there is a requirement when you are ransomed or breached or have any potential issue, even much more benign type incidents, you are required by law to notify and to take certain procedures. So hopefully in those organizations, the people in charge know what their actions
or
are.
the incident response team that's helping them has to know, right?
There's lawyers involved. There's HR. There's so many different groups involved in a lot of that.
And for most of these ransoms that are large numbers, they're using Bitcoin, right? And to move that much Bitcoin, you can't really even do that on your own with the amount that they're moving. So you're going to need an organization to move it for you, somebody that has the capital to make it happen like now versus 3 weeks from now.
Yeah.
And so they have to go through the sanctions checks. And if they don't clear that, and then the government sees that happen, they're like, "What's going on?" Right? So there's a lot of ways that they're monitoring that stuff.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dynamic because sometimes it happens really fast, and sometimes it doesn't.
So the right thing to do still, if the shit hits the fan again, I'm ransomed in my company as someone who's in charge of the company. You hopefully have a plan. You know who to contact. You're contacting your incident responders, contacting your lawyers, contacting whoever you can, basically everyone, your security partners, everyone who you work
hopefully
with.
everybody has an incident response firm on retainer. It doesn't have to be PTA, but anybody, right? Have somebody you know,
someone you can call,
somebody you trust, somebody who's familiar with your organization that can jump in and help you immediately.
Right. Worst case, and this has happened too, where they don't have anyone, but then finally happens. They say, okay, sure, we call somebody. There are still things that can be done. They can still, it usually costs a little more. It's harder, especially to get immediate short-term response when there's no plans in place. You're missing forensic data. It's a lot harder to do.
It is.
But there are people you can call.
Yep.
You touched on this earlier, even at the consumer level, calling the authorities when something happens. I still have a hard time getting a straight or confident answer. I'm not even sure myself. What authorities do you even contact?
So most states have a cyber division.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they typically handle the personal level cases.
So
they do have some sort of interest in it. But really what they focus on, which I find interesting, is that they focus on like child pornography and stuff of that nature.
Cyberbullying, some of these things that are handled at local school levels.
They don't ever really pay attention to the personal data stuff, really.
And anyone who's not a minor. They're protecting minors because that's more sensitive, which is, I'm totally fine with that. But once you're an adult, you're kind of on your own.
Right.
You call the FBI and say, hey, somebody hacked and stole all my photos.
Yep.
Sorry, there's not much we can do.
Yeah.
Right. And the FBI just doesn't have the resources to chase those down, right? So that's the big, I think resourcing is a problem there. But state police, they don't really have an interest in it. No. There's no law against that. Well, there is, obviously, right? There'd be privacy stealing.
But they're hard to enforce laws.
But again, they don't have the resources to follow all those.
Correct.
That's why people are relying on data privacy firms and things of that nature. Like, what is it, the financial lock or whatever it is, where they lock your social security number from being able to be used and things of that nature. So,
and you can put credit locks on.
Credit
agencies say, don't approve any new
so that's
credit
what they're
requests
relying
from you, which is a
on.
good
They're relying
idea.
on you to do that, and so spend your own money to go protect yourself.
But be proactive. Well, it goes back to proactivity. If it's too late, if it's already happened, it's hard. But you can still go to authorities. So what would you say if someone was compromised at home personally, going to your local town police? Are they going to laugh at you, or are they going to at least maybe hopefully put you in contact with the state or federal or somebody else?
I think they'll probably give you a report and then say go to your insurance company if you need a new device. And probably about that. That's about it. I would
There's not much. Well, they said resources. They
think,
can't chase it down. They don't have the trained people to do it.
Exactly.
In most cases.
That's the.
But I'd go to even what can they really even do?
Exactly.
Even if they did have someone who's an expert, even if they involved you and said, hey. Often that attack is coming from somewhere on foreign soil where there's nothing law enforcement can actually do about it.
There's no law enforcement reaction to most ransomware cases, right? Like unless they know exactly who did it and they left some crazy evidence, which I have seen and we've given it, but you never know. There's not much that they do.
I want to start wrapping up because we could go on forever. And there's a whole other topic here that I love discussing and thinking about lately, especially, which is the whole lack of accountability.
Yeah.
On the internet is a huge endemic problem that leads to a lot of this. We love to be able to be anonymous.
Without the accountability, the internet would have never existed. So you have to always remember that, right? So if we didn't take accountability in the first place, like if we just let it be, we never would have got here. So what I'm saying is unaccountability allowed for the internet to exist.
Right. I think you're saying the other
Sorry,
way.
yeah, I was
Yes.
saying, yeah.
If everything was accountable and everyone was responsible for everything, if we had no anonymity,
Right.
Yeah.
It would have never
it wouldn't have
existed.
gotten where
Yeah.
it has.
Yeah.
But I argue that it's kind of gotten to be such a problem now
Yeah.
that, and I could go on. There's a whole thought path down this.
We can talk
yeah.
through that one if you wanted to.
With
Yeah.
It's gonna be, we'll be here all night.
But
Get
because
us
of
some
that nature,
espresso.
but that's the whole nature that makes it so hard to track these down, actually enforce a lot of the stuff from a legal law enforcement perspective. There's not a lot they can do anyway, but still contact them because getting a report will help with your insurance and
Yeah.
whatever other remediation steps down the road.
We had an engineer that worked for us that he would always say when they really want to get serious about it, they'll put a firewall at the edge of the United States.
We'll do like China.
Yeah. So that's when they'll want to get you serious about it. That's when you'll know, and that'll be really, from my perspective, the death of the internet from a sense, right? Because then you're getting
Death of a certain part of it
Yeah.
for sure. Certain aspects of it would die with more regulation, more accountability. But I again, well, let's talk after a drink later. But there are things there that I think there's certain merit to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to do now because the cat's been let out of the bag, and it's hard to rein things in after the
Absolutely.
fact.
But I think we could take more responsibility for what's happening, right?
Yeah.
And go after some of these actors that I know they know who they are.
It happens every now and then. Every now and then, I think it's just to prove their worth. The
It's a
authorities do
convenient-
take down
it's
some
like,
group
I think
somewhere.
I think this will be convenient to cover the news for a couple of days.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Or we're coming up on another budget cycle.
Right.
We need to prove our worth
Right.
and take down a group.
That's how I see it too.
They do it, yeah. But anyway, so to answer our question, if we even can, what should you do when the shit hits the fan? Do we have any kind of, and all encompassing? Again, there's very specific different answers for everyone, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can go down my route real quick.
what's
go.
My
how
route,
would you answer it?
when the shit hits the fan as a personal person? We kind of already went through that. Get somebody who knows what's going on. Get them to help you. Go to the local law enforcement, get a report done so you can claim it on your insurance or protect your identity. If it comes to that, you'll have a report that says this happened. Right.
Good point. Yeah.
Those are good ones for personal. On the commercial side, if something happens, make sure your first call is an incident response org because they have the actions to be taken, to protect you from further damage. Or insurance can come after, counsel can come after, all of that stuff will work. Any other incident response firm will work together with them in cooperation to make sure that you're in your best place possible. But if you never call the incident response people and you just go to the insurance and you wait 4 or 5 days to get an IR firm in place, that could be a problem, right? Because you're going
damaging.
to, more damage we see sometimes from that. Some are better about it than others, but oftentimes we see
Reach out to someone who does this.
Yeah,
That is
do that
experienced with
first
it.
because they can help you right away. Yeah.
Cool.
And then from a proactive side, not when it happens, but proactively, please, immutable backup. Please.
Immutable backup.
Please.
And that's where I was going to go is I think my answer to the question, if I had to summarize, come up with one answer, what should I do when the shit hits the fan? You need a time machine to go back to before the shit hit the fan and be proactive with
100%.
some sort of backup, immutable backups, prepare for it.
Yep.
And then you won't have the issue because there isn't necessarily going to be a way to undo what's been done.
That's
Yeah.
right. So log reviews, all of the above, be able to track that forensically to know exactly what happened. Get an incident response firm on retainer, be ready for when it does, because it's going to happen. Something's going to happen,
Yeah.
So,
Like you said, not a matter of
there's
if, but when.
There's another podcast I love that's called Somebody Knows Something. Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of it, but somebody already knows something is happening. Just get it done. Fix it.
Yeah. Don't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't wait on Doc Brown to invent the flux capacitor so you can back up a couple days and undo. It's not going to happen. Be
I'll take
proactive.
I'll take portals before then. I want to go from place to place
Excellent.
faster.
Well, I think that kind of sums it up as much as we can.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
guys
good.
so much for being here, for the insights, for the perspective, for the knowledge.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate
great.
it.
This is
Yeah, it was
always
awesome.
fun.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks
Hopefully
for coming
this one,
back. for
Hopefully
doing
this
it
one
again.
recorded.
Yes. Well, I know
love
we
the
at least
mic.
got audio. I don't know if all of our videos working right, but we'll have
okay.
something.
We
Good.
will. And if we
And,
don't, that's okay. We can do another one.
It was fun.
We'll do it remotely.
Yeah.
But thank you all again. Thank you all for listening, watching, hopefully. And we'll see you next time on Cybersplainers. Be safe.